Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Yes, I am heartbroken. Heartbroken right now to go down 3 games to none to those lowly, stinking, awful Florida Panthers right now. But I digress. The show must go on, and we must talk some UFOs tonight as Lauri and Fenton and Jason Guillemette are going to be here hanging out with us for a great show indeed. Best part about tonight? We have all of you hanging on out as well. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee with a silver, and Luscious Jules with a bronze medal again tonight. Hi, Canna Chef Chris, Robert Lamoth, and Melvin from Mars. Good to see you. Mama Catherine, mwah, my dear, I hope you're having a wonderful night. That love is specifically for you. Yes, indeed. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, the period dot, annoying as hell on my phone right now. Can't stand this guy. Total beta male. Paramarv, how you doing? Tim in the backwoods, how's it going? How's the beard tonight? Let me know. Major Lee, how you doing? Good to see you as we continue on with roll call. There's Cosmic Joe, Corey, Carrot of the Woo Train. Thanks for coming on in. Amy WC is here. Amy will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Oh, sorry, Lorian. Sorry. Why do you record the games, Lorian? Every time you know there's a hockey game on around here, you know I'm going to give the score. You know that. Oh, she's going to kill me. Anyways, ruining the night for her. We have number 27 in your program, starting on defense. Lars Jansson from Stockholm, Sweden. There he is. All right. Chris. Teen, how are you? Welcome back. Thomas Rock, how you doing? As we continue on with the roll call, there's my man T-Bone in New Westminster, British Columbia, saying hello to the Fraser River as we speak, holding a coffee, listening to me, staring out the window as the water goes by. Very romantic. Paulie Rotterman has returned. Paulie will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. All right. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Noble Patrick, Troy SR71, Christine Lynn. Good to see you all. Hi, aloha, Dave from Mexico. Noble Patrick, once again, because I like to say it twice. Destiny Rocks, how are you? Thank you for coming on in. Skip to Malou, good morning to you. Hi, Phil the Stalker. And who's next? Thunderhead, how you doing, my man? So we continue on with our roll call. Digger Dog, nice to see you. Hi there, Richard Elmore and Kurt M. Super Crazy, thanks for coming on in. Bobby Chizzy, it's been a while. Good to have you back. Operation Shutdown, thanks for joining us tonight as we continue on with the roll call. Glenn John McEnroe, the pride of Wimbledon. Gary Rusin, how you doing? DH. Yeah, he'll sit in for a starting pitcher at the plate there. Yep, for sure. Nikki Cook, how are you from the UK? Good morning to you. And who's next on our list? Let us say hello next to Algaray over on Twitch. He was leg pressing 946 pounds 27 times. Pam Harris, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Nina Williams. Good to see you. And who's next? Scrolling on down. We're running out of time. Ozzy and Me Woykin. Thanks for coming on in. Hello and welcome to the podcast and radio side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we're glad to have you here as we are doing a UFO show tonight. Lauri Fenton and Jason Guillemette are going to join us, and we're going to have some fun as we await the arrival of Bill WD-40 to lube us up for tonight's show. We are in roll call. Evan Walters pissing me off, buddy. Thanks for coming on in. T-Bone, my man, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. Very much appreciate your love and support of SOR. You're a great dude, man. Thank you. Continuing on with our roll call, Cosmic Joe, thank you for a lovely super chat. Joe, very much appreciate that. And who else is next here? Pixie Lara, how's the purple hair? Nice to see you. Hi, Night Gazer. Get to the rest in a moment. Throw those horns up. Let's rock, everybody. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally, all around the world. Wherever you want to tune us in, because we're on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot, read the newswire, check out our swag as well, and you can follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio, Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and on Patreon and the Space Travelers Club. We're going to have a great show. We want you to join us as well as we say thank you to Chive Charities for being our featured sponsor for tonight. Lauri Fenton is here. We're trying to figure out where Jason Guillemette is. He's supposed to join us as well. We're going to get into UFO talk tonight. A power show of information. Yes. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Tales Untold, followed up by Robin Haynes in the Crypted Report. It's Dave 101 night and the weird news of the week. You know, there's some strange things going on in the UFO world right now where I think Tim Burchett said it best about 2 weeks ago, where he said he's unsure if, and I'm paraphrasing, if the UFO story and the UFO world is going to continue. He didn't seem very sure because the doors seem to be closing left, right, and center. Well, Lauri Fenton has been covering this subject for decades. She is one of the most trusted voices that I know when it comes to talking about everything from UFOs, disclosure, from people who have had encounters and abductions and everything in between. And this is why I absolutely love her for coming on the show with us tonight to talk about this all-important subject on whether or not disclosure is going to happen. Lauri, we're going to get you to unmute your microphone, and we're going to say hello to you, my dear friend. Thank you once again for coming to Reno to our fan party and hanging on.
Oh, I had a blast.
Well, of course, you never left the Baccarat table.
No, I did. I left it once or twice, but I was winning money, so it was hard to leave.
Between you and Melinda Leslie going haywire at the Baccarat table, I didn't know what the hell was going on half the time. People are like, where's Lauri and where's Melinda? I said, have you checked the Baccarat table? And sure enough, you know?
Yeah, no, we had a blast. We won money. We got to dine with you several times. It was great. And we just had a blast. It was a lot of fun. Oh, the Skywatch was fantastic.
Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, it was fun. And going to Virginia City was great. Oh, all of it was fun. It was a blast. People need to come next year. Are you going to do it in Reno again, or are you going to go off to Vegas again?
We're debating on where to go, or if we're even going to have one next year. You know, we'll end up doing one. We always do. But, you know, there's always that. And you go through it with your conferences as well. A few weeks after, a month or two after, you're like, do I really want to do this again? Do I really want to, have all this happen? Well, that's where we are. We're in that phase right now.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And if you don't do it, hey, it doesn't matter. People still get you every night on SOR, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's always good to talk some UFOs with you. And the
Yeah, but
reason.
I'm going to kill you about the Edmonton Oilers right now. I swear to God, I recorded that game, and I thought you knew I recorded all my games, and I watch them before I go to bed at night. And I was like, oh, I'm sure he won't say a word. Okay, I'm sure of it, right? So the first thing you do out of the gate, you tell me that they lost. Oh, I'm so depressed. Yeah, let's not cry together. I swear to God. Anyhow. Is it worth watching though? Should I see him lose, or is it just going to be
Third
too
period's
painful?
worth watching.
Third period. Okay. I'll fast forward through the first two then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just, oh.
I know. It's so sad. After the show, I got to talk to you about something about the Oilers. Okay.
Sure. Not
Okay.
a problem. Lauri, and to me, I don't care about the rest of the UFO world, but to me, there are very few people that I actually truly trust when it comes to talking about this subject of UFOs, ufology, because you're somebody who sees what's going on in the front end of the facade, but you also know enough people and have talked to enough people to learn what is happening on the back end of the real games that are being played with ufology. Before we get too deep into this subject, for the people who may not understand your knowledge of the subject of UFOs and experiencers, fill us in on how this all became a major part of your life.
Well, I think it started when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I'm very psychic, and I've had a whole life that I could write a whole book just on the psychic end of my life. But when I was about 12 or 13 was the first time that I realized that I was talking to some type of being in my head, and I realized that other people weren't doing it. But it took me till I was almost 13 to figure that out. I thought everybody was talking to somebody in their head, right? So, and yeah, you can see I'm schizophrenic or whatever, but it's never been like that. It's more like, they've saved my life several times driving. They'll like say, pull over and get in the left lane right now, that kind of thing. I mean, and then I'll ask them, I'll say, well, should I go to this conference? Is it going to be worth my time? Is it going to make other people's lives better? I never worry too much about myself, but I'm always asking, hey, is it going to make other people's lives better? And they'll tell me yes or no, don't go, or, do go, or it's going to be important, or you need to do it, or it's, something to that effect. Right. So I kind of was thinking it was an angel, and I still believe it's an angel because of my whole story about dying when I was a year and a half old. Anyhow, long story short, all that time I thought it was an angel until I was about 13. And then I saw a UFO for the first time when I was up at the high school track, running the track at night, and I saw this light, and I didn't know what it was, and I instantly, this was so bizarre to me, I can't even believe I did it. I started screaming at the light saying, "It's time to take me home. Please take me home." And I don't even know why I was screaming this, right? But I just felt compelled to yell at this light in the sky and get mad at it, like, go all Italian on it and say, "Take me home now." I was just screaming at the top of my lungs. Anyhow, and then I realized when I got home, I thought, geez, I wonder if that is an extraterrestrial I'm talking to. At the time, I don't even know what we called it. I mean, we're talking 50 years ago. So, and to this day, I can't remember what I was calling them. I think I was otherworldly beings or extraterrestrials. I think that was the only words we had for them back then. But anyhow, long story short, that started it for me. I started asking all my friends if they'd seen UFOs. I asked my parents. Turns out my grandmother and my dad had seen several UFOs, and one chased them down a highway once. So who knows what happened to them? They probably got abducted, and who knows? So that's how it started for me.
Out of all the experiences you have had and that you've discussed over the years, how does it compare to what people looking at ufology today would say about what an experience is?
It is so different now. compared to what it was back then, because back then it wasn't part of our lexicon. It wasn't brought into the movie field like with Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. and all of the alien movies that happened in the late 80s and the 90s, and Taken, the TV series, and the whole thing just started exploding in the late 80s and all through the 90s. And now anybody born kind of just thinks that it's kind of taken for granted that it's there. I think this is what their brainwashing is starting to do to the younger people, is that they just expect it to be real. There's not as many people saying, oh no, that's not real anymore. So that's good. I'm glad about that, because it's making a big difference with the Senate hearings and the things that are going on. Younger people are taking it more seriously. There's a gazillion podcasts around it now, and they're very scientific oriented. But your question is, how does it compare then to now? I think now what we've created, interestingly enough, is not that they're looking at the spiritual side of it, more the contactee kind of communication consciousness side. They are looking at it, but now I see all these podcasts out there where they talk to people like Gary Nolan and, Hal Puthoff and Jacques Vallée, and the list goes on and on. Yes, these are amazing scientists, and then the people involved, like Avi Loeb with his group, and the list goes on and on with all these scientifically oriented people, or military people like Lou Elizondo, and the list goes on and on with that as well. And hey, I have no problem with it. But is it really, are they just trying to keep us focused on the fact that they want us to think military science? Is this what they're heading us towards? I don't see a whole lot of mainstream podcasters out there going, let's get the lady who talks about sleeping with reptilians on our show today. It's not happening anymore like it used to with Art Bell.
Just a quick shout out to Guy Calgary in our chat room, who is saying, the morgue, that's where they put the Oilers offense. Go Flames. I hope you stub your toe tonight, Guy Calgary. Hope you stub your toe hard. Yeah,
Oh
that
my
little
God.
bastard out there on your bottom of your right foot. I hope you just stub the hell out of it going to the bathroom in the middle of the night when it's dark. Yep, that's such a Calgary Flames question or response, comment, whatever the hell you want to call it. Yep, that's exactly what it is.
You guys got to be nice to Dave. Be nice to Dave. He's going through a mourning process right now, and he's only got a little shred of hope left.
It's not over.
I know.
42 when a team has come back from 3-0.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
82 years. Yeah. It's never over. It's over.
That's right. That's right.
Team to do it. Let's go Oilers. Anyways, I love what you said there, because I think one of the points that you brought up that I think is very important is that this subject has become so scientific. It has become almost scientific to a godly sense, that unless it's these SCU members or Harvard members or Ivy League scientists who are putting their names to these files of these cases, it doesn't exist. It doesn't happen. It's kind of like with the UFO sightings. You and me and a lawyer and a construction worker and a garbage person having a sighting means nothing. But hold the phone if a military helicopter or pilot actually gets a sighting. Then it's hit the brakes. We need advanced aerospace threat systems in order to defend ourselves from these UAPs. It just
exactly. That's where it's all heading now. And I like I said, I don't have a problem with it at all, because thank God it's being recognized. Thank God the military is the place where they're starting to pull out the stories and tell us about it. And, in Unidentified, the TV show that Lou was on for years, that was a good introduction into the military's acknowledgement of the fact that it's all starting to be talked about. And that's great. But I think what's happening, Dave, and you and I have talked about this a lot, personally. I think the contactees are being ignored, and I think it's on purpose. I think that whoever they are, the people that are getting this to the Senate, the people that are trying to get disclosure to happen, don't want that part of the story out there because it sounds so fantastical, most of the stories, that what do you do with that? How do you put that in front of a senator without the senator saying, are you sure this guy doesn't need a psyche valve, right? So there is that problem, and I get why they're doing it, but it is creating kind of a divide within the community where, and hopefully, one of the things I'm going to be doing for my new conference, we're rebuilding and revamping and upgrading UFOCon, folks. That's why we took this year off, is because I'm building a new board and we're changing the name of the conference. We're going to be at the South San Francisco Convention Center. And the reason why is that I'm going to have 2 tracks going during the conference from now on. We're going to have a contactee track, a room where there's nothing but contactees talking. And then we're going to have another room where the scientists and the disclosure guys and the military guys and all those guys are all going to talk. So we're going to have 2 things going on at once. So you can pick. I want to go see a contactee speak, and then I'll go over and see a military guy speak, or, whatever. It gives you both flavors of the whole thing, because really that's what's going on now. And it was wonderful to be the conference for the contactees to talk at. All these years, I did it for 14 years of just contactees speaking, and that's it. But times have changed, and we've really got to start addressing the fact that the military and the scientists and all those guys need a stage too at my conference. So, and hopefully they can meet together, and we'll have a few panels where the contactees and the scientists are all kind of working together on this panel, talking about things that they're sharing amongst each other, which would be wonderful. I'd like to get them all to start talking to each other,
I wanted to ask you this question for a long time, Lorian. And I've just, it's one of those questions that when you get into conversation, you just kind of forget about it. But for you, kind of blending yourself with, you're kind of a middle of the road. I mean, you're with many people and built many relationships with the old school ufology. And you also are very much a proponent of new school and new people coming into ufology, which, I have bragged many a times how you've helped Spaced Out Radio grow within the community single-handedly. It's been phenomenal. It really has. And I give you a lot of credit for that, even though you never take it. But I brag about you when you're not here and I'm talking behind your back. I do that.
That's what that burning sensation is in my stomach, right?
Always. But my question to you is this. As someone who has a lot of friends within the old school ufology group that was here before it became mainstream and popular, and I'm going back decades, whether it's Grant Cameron or Richard Dolan or Steve Bassett or even beyond that, Jim Mars, Stanton Friedman, and many others.
I know. And that's what I was going to tell you. Yeah. Well, finish what you're saying, but I just lost Tron on Saturday night. He died. And David Adair just called me, and he's been in the hospital, and I got to call him back on tomorrow or Saturday. So yeah, and I lost Clifford Stone last year. I mean, the list goes on. And Jim Mars, a few years ago. So yeah. Go ahead.
So my question is, a lot of these older ufologists, though, seem to be taking the bait of the UAP crowd. Okay, when they were very hardcore, I've got sources, I'm pushing the ufology subject, I want to be the face of ufology, and I want to bring this story out, they seem to have shifted a lot towards the UAPs and the government side of the reality of this. Do you think that's been good or a detriment to ufology, seeing all of these big names kind of shift towards the governmental pattern of it all?
Well, the people who are shifting are the people that have written about ufology as a topic. I don't see a whole lot of contactees shifting. Like, Whitley Strieber, for example, he was just a contact in the desert, and he did a great job talking about his contact and what it means for us presently to have people like him out there still on the scene, still doing his radio show, still talking about contact, because he's afraid that the UFO UAP area is kind of taking away from this, just like I talked about at the beginning of the show. That's my fear too, is that it's going to kind of overwhelm us and we're never going to get heard again, But yeah, there's a lot of people jumping on that bandwagon, like Dolan and Brad Olson. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's just a ton of people heading out for the UAP area. And hey, look, I don't blame them. And I'll tell you why. Because I think it's important that they be on the platform of whatever is going on right now, especially Bassett and those guys and Danny Sheehan. They've got to, because if they don't, and they don't start representing the people that are actually going to be heard by the Senate, then, we're not going to get anywhere with this. The military guys, the whistleblowers, all those guys, they've all got to head down that path if we're going to make any headway with true disclosure. But having said that, I personally do not believe that we're not getting disclosure for at least 7 more years. And I know people go, God, Lauri, and it seems like forever. And they keep telling us it's going to be next year and next year. But it's going to be about 7 years, I think.
If ever.
Yeah, if ever. Yeah, there's that too, because people don't understand. Dave, you know this. There's a national security directive that actually is written to keep anything like that, anything that's in our aerospace or our atmosphere or whatever that isn't ours. And if we discover it and we take it and we put it in a museum somewhere, I don't know where they're putting the UFOs, or the aliens for that matter, all that stuff falls under national security. And so no matter how hard these guys try in the Senate, no matter how many skiffs they go into, there's going to be somebody at the NSA, the DIA, the CIA, the Department of Defense that's going to sit there and say, I'm sorry. You cannot tell the American public about this, because if they know, it has a chance to fall into somebody's intelligence that wants to destroy us. And that's what's going to happen. And it's going to happen for quite a while until they can all get their ducks in a row and explain that it's too late. The cat's out of the bag. That's just my opinion, folks.
I'm looking for a personal opinion here. Does it bug you watching people, and this isn't a shot at people like Steve Bassett or Richard Dolan, but does it bug you that they have evolved into the UAP governmental side of everything rather than staying focused and continuing their profound work in this subject?
Well, personally, I call them grifters, anybody who does that, because that means they're jumping on the bandwagon of whatever can get them the most money. Okay. I'm not saying that Bassett's doing it or Dolan's doing it. I'm just saying it's a natural phenomenon. If this is how you make your money, that you're going to head down that path. It'd be like me saying, well, I don't want to go down that path because I don't want to raise, I don't want to do that job. They have to, they've got to evolve into it, because this is how they make their living. And not that they're making a living, because I'm going to tell you, as you and I both know, Dave, there's no crying in baseball or hockey for that matter. And there's no money in ufology unless you've got the latest, greatest, and best thing down the pike, and it'll only last for 6 months. That's the way it goes. And so those guys have to evolve. And I don't blame them, because they've got to do something. And that's the most popular thing right now. You can get 1 million hits about, what's going on with the UAPs, but I can't get 10 people to pay attention to a major abduction by a contactee,
And on that note, Lauri and Fenton, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Is ufology dying? That's a big question we have for Lauri and Fenton on Spaced Out Radio tonight. A very important topic that we are going to get to more and more in the next little bit. We'll also find out about Danny Sheehan's latest comments about CNN. We'll be right back. right back on Spaced Out Radio. There we go.
Okay, I haven't watched Danny's latest comments on CNN yet.
I'm going to read
Even
it.
though Melinda texted me yesterday and said I better do it. What did he say?
Well, he hasn't been on there yet.
Oh, okay. Because I was just with him last week.
I'll read it to you. My quick opinion on it, without going into detail, because I want to save it for the show.
Yeah.
Just rolling my eyes and laughing at it.
What did he say? Just quickly.
Well, I'll get into that. I don't want to get into it during the break because I don't want to.
You'll read it to me on the show. Okay, that's fine. Because I was just with him for like 3 days. So I kind of have a little bit of inside baseball, but I didn't know about the CNN thing till I got home, and Melinda texted me and said, "You better get ready for this."
Well, like I said, I'll explode on that when we come back.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I think it's ridiculous, and
yeah.
I want to be able to back up my argument. You know
sure,
what I'm saying?
Sure, that's fine.
Live from
I'm a friend. Yeah, like I'm a friend of Danny, but I don't agree with everything anybody says in the field. All that they say. I mean, I agree with a lot of it, but I have my own opinions, as you know.
Live from the morgue. Where is this show live? Everywhere. You've been to 3 locations. You've been on X, you've been on Twitch, and now you're on YouTube, my man. Welcome to the show. Don't forget to subscribe. And bring that back.
Dave, I love your new Bigfoot back there glowing and moving. I love that thing.
I know. See if
it's cool.
If I turn it off, you can actually see inside. There's a shadow there.
There's a Bigfoot in it. Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that's awesome.
We are on break from our radio stations that we are broadcasting on. Here, I'll see if I can get it better here for you. Hold on. That's white. It's red. There's green.
Oh, it changes. Oh, I like the one that it was doing though with the random or whatever it's called. Pulsing. That's cool too. I love it.
There's a bunch of different settings it has.
That's wild.
It was a good $60 I spent. I'm not gonna, or $40 I spent.
That's well worth it. Like it.
Yes.
Very good.
Very happy with it. I wish it came out better on camera though. It's a combination between my cheap camera that I have right now, and I'm thinking of upgrading, and the lighting in here. I've tried to shift the lighting a little bit to make it better, but I think it's a cheap camera I have.
Yeah. What kind of camera do you have?
I have a Logitech HD 1020 or 1080p.
Yeah. That's one I have too. Not on this computer, but that's another one that I have. I also have a Logitech 4K I'm getting soon.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to a better camera, a more professional type camera here soon.
Yeah.
So
very good.
Once I fully get out of this stupid earache that I'm having, I'm on like day 9 of this thing.
Did you what kind of earache is it? Did you get antibiotic drops?
Yeah, it's what they call an outer earache.
Huh. Never heard of it.
Well, there's 2 types of earaches. The inner is from the eardrum in.
Okay.
And then the outer is from the eardrum out.
Okay.
So the good part about it is I'm no longer in pain. Like it was freaky there for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now I can actually talk again. I can eat, which is nice.
Yeah.
Eating is always fun.
I thought that was our national pastime, Dave. You and I love to eat.
I'll tell you right now, there is nobody on this planet, nobody, who could beat Laurian and myself in a tag team of Taco Bell eating.
That's true. That is true. I
Nobody.
gotta say.
Nobody. Hold on.
Maybe let's do the Taco Bell challenge at the next meetup.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Asimov, Mr. Cowley, how you guys doing? So Kira, the only thing I have left is my ear is plugged. That's my ears are plugged. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, I feel great. And I am Pam, everybody. I am Pam. Here we go. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We very much appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, I want to remind all of you that our archives are always free. Yes, they are. You don't have to ever pay for them because I don't like that crap. I don't like it when shows do that. You want to listen to our archives, they're free. Go to YouTube or any major podcast network. They're right there. I got like almost 2,000 shows, people. Lots for you to choose from right there. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Lauri Fenton is here. I think Jason Guillemette from UAP Studies Podcast, I think instead of turning right at Albuquerque, he hung a left. And for those of you who actually watched real cartoons in the day, you'll get that. You will get that. All right, Lauri Fenton, thank you for being here, my beautiful friend.
Well, I love it. I wish he would show up because now it's all on me, and I thought I was going to be sharing the spotlight tonight.
I know. So did I. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a good panel. But
yeah, I did too. I was looking forward to seeing it.
I know Jason still has pretty young kids, so the fact that he might be tied up with his children is probably something that he's dealing with right now. So, but that's okay. All right.
The only thing I've got is a stuffed cat over here. That's it. That's all I've got.
Nice. I want to read something to you, Laurian.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Now let me find what I did with it. The New Paradigm Institute, founded by acclaimed civil rights and constitutional attorney Daniel Sheehan, is dedicated to advocating for the public release of information held by the government surrounding the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomena, or what has commonly been known as UFOs. The New Paradigm Institute is a project of the Romero Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit interfaith law and policy center, formerly known as the Christic Institute. Romero and Christic are known for lawsuits such as Karen Silkwood and the 3 Mile Island nuclear safety cases, the Greensboro case against the Klan and Nazis, the first sanctuary defense case, the Iran-Contra case against the Enterprise, and the Chase Iron Eyes case at Standing Rock. About Solve Advocacy, located in Washington, D.C. area, Solve Advocacy is a first-of-its-kind consulting firm dedicated to clients in the edge sciences. We create transformational outcomes through public relations, strategic communications, issue advocacy, and media strategy for difficult areas. Well, anyways, they go on to say that they were going to be pushing to try and get CNN to cover this. And this is where they come into it. And I'm going to read this too. Okay. On June 27, 2024, CNN will host the first of 2 scheduled presidential debates. The New Paradigm Institute calls on CNN and the debate moderators to include a question about UAP disclosure. The fiscal year 2024 National Defense Authorization Act established the Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Records Collection at the National Archives and Records Administration. The act provides executive branch powers with sweeping powers to withhold and postpone the release of documents related to UAP under national security grounds that the New Paradigm Institute considers overly broad. The next president of the United States will make critical decisions about UAP disclosure and government transparency. It's time for presidential candidates Joe Biden, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Donald Trump to commit to UFOs, UAP disclosure, and transparency, said New Paradigm Chief Counsel Daniel Sheehan. Regardless of a political affiliation, the time has come to inject UAP into the political discourse of our elections. The New Paradigm Institute's campaign calls on the public to demand that CNN and debate moderators Jake Tapper and Dana Bash ask the candidates about UAP disclosure and government transparency at the 24 presidential debate on June 27th. Candidates for president should be asked whether they will commit to UAP disclosure and government transparency. The CNN debate provides the perfect forum for the public to learn where our candidates stand on this important issue, concluded Sheehan. I'm going to get your comments on this first and foremost. What's your thoughts?
Well, I did read that. I read that press release, and I'm a little miffed as to why Danny Sheehan has to be the guy to bring this to them, because I thought that possibly some of the Senate people might actually be bringing that to them. You know, Blanchett and those guys. I thought they might just say, "Yay, look, there's an opportunity here. Let's do it." You know, but for Danny to do it, yeah, you know, kudos to him for trying. I hope it does happen. You know, the odds of it happening are very slim. Let's just put it that way, because already these guys want to control the narrative, what's going on in that stage, to the point where I don't know if they're going to allow anything that can be woo-woo towards actually Joe Biden, probably more than Trump at this point. Because Trump did start Space Force, so their problem is he'd probably be pro, like, yeah, let's go find the aliens, you know? And I don't know where Biden stands on this. Do you? I mean, I've never heard him really say much about it.
Well, here's the thing that concerns me about it. Okay. And I'm going to get a little political here for a second. I don't normally do this, but
I was going to say, I've never heard you get political. I'm so excited.
Well, and please note to our American listeners, just a friendly reminder, I have no skin in the game. I'm Canadian. I live in Canada. I broadcast this show from Canada. Okay, I have no skin in the game. And please don't come at me with, stay the hell out of our country's political talks if you're not from here. No. See, as a journalist, I'm allowed to comment on it. So I'm just going to.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing that I look at. There are a number of people in ufology who are extremely Democrat. Yes, we have Democrats and Republicans and libertarians all loving this subject. It's one of the subjects that really does go beyond political spectrum for most people who are in the disclosure crowd. But Stephen Bassett from Paradigm Research Group, who I absolutely love and adore, he is so Democrat, saying that disclosure could never happen under a Republican president. He's still upset that Hillary lost the election to Trump in 2015, and that cost us disclosure. I don't believe that for a second. Number two, Daniel Sheehan has always been very Democrat when it comes to this. And I'm actually making a point here, so please listen to me before as I finish this. CNN is also very left-leaning media. But here's and when you're pursuing CNN, I don't really understand. Okay, I understand that CNN is hosting the presidential debates, and that's where you have to go. But CNN, for the most part, has done nothing for UFOs or ufology. They have done nothing. Yes, they ran reports, and then as the story continued, people like former host Don Lemon did nothing but trash this subject. And they laughed at it. And they played the X-Files music and talked about little green men and swamp gas and Venus up in the sky. Okay. That's part of the problem. Whereas other outlets like Fox News or News Nation have been extremely, extremely professional when it comes to covering the UFO story. From former host, and this is somebody I don't like, from former host Tucker Carlson to what we see on News Nation today. Okay. We see a lot of good happening with the way this story is being covered properly. Okay. Once again, this isn't a Democrat thing. It isn't a Republican thing. This is the way the media covers the subject. And as a member of the media, I'm ashamed to say that because all media should call things down the middle. And the fact that Sheehan and others within his group who are very pro-Democrat would try and push CNN on this topic when CNN hasn't given two flying you-know-whats about what's flying in space or where these UAPs or UFOs are, why they would waste their time on this by releasing a press release that we are pushing CNN to do this, I find that laughable. Now, that's my opinion,
Yeah.
Lauri. Okay.
Well, in many ways I agree with you. But I'm looking at it from Danny's point of view is that they've got to start going after whoever is doing the debates. At this point, it just happens to be people that he leans with, CNN, and with his Democratic stance on stuff. And he's not shy about telling people he's a Democrat. He always has gone down that path. And when I heard it, I thought, well, that makes total sense because possibly CNN will actually listen to Danny Sheehan because of who he is. So there may be that factor that gets this question up there. But again, I will say this question of, will you disclose, UAPs, and will you help the Senate disclose, for disclosure, whatever that question may be that he wants to present to them. The point is, CNN is going to look at that and go, we don't want Joe Biden answering that question. Our Democratic guy, we just don't want him to answer it.
The journalists are probably going to laugh at that question and say, why are we even talking about this?
Exactly.
It's not even going to get that far. It's not even about Biden. It's not even going to get that far past the journalists and the editors who will pre-screen the questions before coming in. Now, if they were promoting this to Fox News or to News Nation, I would say you have a great shot at that question getting through.
Actually, okay. I think you would. I really do. I think you would. And I think it would get through. And I think they both have to answer as best they could, And what's interesting is both of them know a lot more than they can talk about, which you and I both know this is a fact, right? Every time a president's gone on Jimmy Kimmel or any of those other shows, they have said, well, I asked, but nobody would tell me anything. Well, they have to say that. It's that, they have to, because they're under a national security top secret clearance type of thing. And they do have moments where they do find things out. I'm not saying they know everything, because I do believe we have such a dark, deep, black area around the total ufology. But I'm sure they were told about crashes and different things like that. I'm absolutely positive of
it. Is it a waste of time seeing what Sheehan is putting out there, trying to get the questions? I think it's proactive. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it isn't proactive, but is it a waste of time knowing that you have a better chance of figuring out that butter isn't, I can't believe it's not butter, than CNN actually playing these questions?
Yeah, I think it's, honestly, and I hate to say this again too, but Kevin, who does their Soul Advocacy Agency, who does their press releases for them and their media and all that, I think that it's a good way to keep them in front of the news cycle. because of course that press release went out to every news agency in the United States, right? It didn't just go to, it didn't go to just CNN. It was telling every news agency, this is what we're going to do. So it's a great way to get Danny out there and get the Institute known, and that they're a player. I really think it's a good move on their part as far as advertising what they're doing goes. I think it's a fabulous idea, but I think I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't. That it's a media play. You know that, Dave. It's most likely just that.
Absolutely, it is a media play. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I am saying is that I think I laughed a little bit. And in fact, in the chat that I was shown this, here, I'll even read my responses. I said, wrong network to ask the questions, shaking my head. They are so Democrat in their thoughts, they figure they could sway a left-wing media company to do this. Just because they may not like Fox or News Nation doesn't mean they should be putting the pressure on all media outlets. This is what happens when you have non-media people thinking they know how the media works. Good luck to them. And then I added, CNN has done nothing to help the UFO cause. Fox and News Nation have. It'll be surprising if CNN takes this up.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you on this. I when I saw it, I thought, well, good luck. What a great media idea. Everybody should get their name out there as best they can, but I just don't think it's going to happen. What I would like to see them do, and this is just a suggestion, Danny, if you're listening, is that I would love to see you guys send out that press release by saying, does anybody in any of the major outlets want to have us on TV the night of the debate or after the debate or right before the debate to discuss what should be going on as far as the presidential, whether they're going to do disclosure, kind of lay out what we're hoping the president will do for disclosure. I think that would be great. Get them on 20 outlets, that week, talking about it. I think it'd be great. It'd be great publicity for them. I think it would put pressure on all of the networks. We put some pressure on CNN to say something. If they did it like the week before, it'd be like, oh my God, Dan Sheen was on Fox. He was on News Nation. He was on MSNBC. He was on all of them. He was on everybody saying, why aren't they talking about this at the presidential debate? That would be an even better thing to be doing, I think. What do you think?
I agree. But I mean, you have to understand, see, and this is part of my problem. And I'm going to sound real whiny here for a minute. But
I love it when you whine. Keep going.
You've heard me say this on this show and on your show and in other conversations that we've had. There's everybody, for some reason in this field, thinks they know how the media works. And that they can just create their own title of journalist, as we see in a new TV show again, another person coming out saying, I'm a journalist, but they've never worked a day in journalism before. You have all these people coming out being press release people, or they have these media firms, and they don't know how to write a proper press release. They don't, do you really think that Fox News or News Nation or the New York Times or New York Post is going to pick up a story about pressuring CNN to write UFO questions? You know what they do with press releases?
Yeah.
They grab a piece of paper, they scrunch it all up, and they throw it in the recycling bin.
I know.
I've done it before when I worked in newsrooms.
I know. I did it when I was sending out press releases for all the companies I've worked for, because I worked in media for a long time. And I understand. I would always call the newspapers and say, did you receive my press release? And I'd really pin them down. And then they'd say, well, I'm sorry, but we're not going with that story now, which is fine, whatever. The point to all this is, I think they're just wasting a lot of time, obviously. And they're trying to get their name out there to a big outlet. That's what it's really all about. I mean, if we look at that press release, what it really says is Daniel Sheehan wants to make sure that this gets heard. and that's fine. Whatever they need to do to get their names out there, that's great. But I will say this: Stephen Bassett pounded the pavement in Washington, D.C. for 10 years. He literally went to every senator, dropped off DVDs, press releases, books, and he got to know them all on a first name basis, and they never did a dang thing. And this went on for 10 years until he finally realized they weren't going to do anything. And it's a hot topic. It's one of those topics you don't talk about in polite company because it's just going to get you in trouble. It goes right up there with politics and religion. It's just not talked about. And so I wish them all the luck in the world. And I really do like Danny, and I like what he's doing. I like the idea that they're just staying focused on the Senate, and government agencies trying to solve this problem. That's great. But in a weird way, in my gut, I know it's not going to happen like that, Dave. What I really am hoping is that we start having so many mass sightings all the time, everywhere, that it just becomes undeniable that it's real. Okay? Because I think that's how it's going to happen, is organically as opposed to government policy wise. What do you think?
Well, you know what? I'm of the point right now. We're going to get into this in hour number 2 with you, Laurian, because this is the big topic I want to hit with you tonight. There were comments made by Tim Burchett a couple weeks ago on a podcast where basically it really sounded like, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not going to quote him, I'm paraphrasing here, that basically sounded like we're coming to the end. Like people are getting fed up. They're fed up with the story. They're fed up with not getting any information. There's no real, yes, we got a lot of witness testimony, but there's no videos. There's no real evidence to push this further. And people are starting to, it's kind of like when you're brushing your dog who has a bunch of knots in their hair. You can brush for the first 10 minutes, but anything after that, they start getting pissed off and they start, growling and nipping at you. Because it's sore and they're tired of feeling that brush on their skin, pulling and yanking their hair out. It's the same way that we're seeing in ufology right now. And I want to get into that a little bit deeper because I think this goes back to what we saw a couple years ago when Lou Elizondo wrote his famous piece stating that ufology needs to die. And I think that is part of it.
Okay, you're gonna have to refresh my memory on that one because I don't remember the context, but we'll get there.
Well, we have about 90 seconds here, and I just don't believe that these hearings, I'm not putting any faith that we're going to get new hearings, and if we do get new hearings, that we are going to get hearings that tell us absolutely nothing again. Like, for instance, don't you find it interesting that Kristen Gillibrand, she acted like she was Rocky going against Ivan Drago, and Ivan Drago's the military industrial complex.
Right.
And then they go and have the hearings, and she folds and rolls over, basically saying, I'm not seeing anything here. And now she wants more hearings. I mean, what is it, Laurian? Tell me.
I know. Hey, look, all I can say is wait for the next hour because I'm telling you, I have a lot of opinions about why this is not going to happen. And I said it earlier in the show. It'll be 7 years if we're lucky. And I'll tell you why after the break.
Well, it's going to be interesting. And I'm curious if you're out there in Radio Land, I can't talk right now. I'm so worked up. Let us know how you feel about this. Hit us up on X at Spaced Out Radio, or find us on our Facebook page or our Facebook group or my personal profile. Hit us up. I want to know your opinion, or leave an opinion on our YouTube channel. When you go back and play the archive, I want to know your opinion. Do you think ufology is dying, and this whole area that we are into right now is collapsing on its own? We're going to talk about this more with Laurian Fenton from the Fenton perspective right here on Spaced Out Radio in hour number 2. Ufology dying? We'll find out next on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. That's awesome, man. That's awesome for first hour. That Sheehan thing, I just rolled my eyes on that.
I did the same thing, but then I thought, well, he's a staunch Democrat. They know him from all the trials he's been in. He was in Watergate. He was in Iran-Contra, the Karen Silkwood. He's not a player. See, that's the thing. What everybody forgets is Daniel Sheehan, everybody knows who he is in Washington. So CNN might actually look at that and take a second look. I don't think they're going to do it, but it'll be interesting to see how they react to it. I would, I'll ask Danny how they reacted. If they don't do it at all, then I'm going to find out.
Lauri, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to put you in the green room. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, no problem. I'm going to take a break too. I'll be back.
Okay. I am back. Hi, Jennifer. How are you? Anybody else coming in? Thank you tonight to W. Decker with a hat trick, T-Bone ×2, and Cosmic Joe for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love. And there's Lorian.
I'm
Here
back.
We go, we're coming down. Hey, Tokeland, how you doing? Here we go. Is ufology dying? That's what we're talking about tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, I want to remind all of you that I really do appreciate you tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. And you can listen to us digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Speaking of the Space Travelers Club, the Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Mammothrept. Mammothrept is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on SOR. Lauri and Fenton is here, checking on out and hanging on out with us to talk about ufology. Is it dying? And this comes on recent comments that Congressman Tim Burchett made, saying that they're getting frustrated that there's no answers coming out from the people they need answers from, including Arrow, which said they do not trust what Arrow is saying to the public. They're not seeing any transparency with information. Everything has to be behind closed doors. It's not looking good. And this furthermore goes back to a point where a couple of years ago, Lou Elizondo wrote an article, which you could Google, basically saying ufology must die. You know, that it's time to change how we look at ufology and change it to upology because they love their UAPs. Okay. And that the old school way of looking at this subject needs to go away and come into the 21st century. Lorian, I'm curious. You've been around the block enough times with this subject. You've been there and back at least 25, 30 times minimum. Where do we stand on this? Do we think ufology is dying?
Well, you know, it's interesting what Scott Burchett said, because what they're doing is they're grandstanding the politicians is what they're doing, as usual. And when I say they, I'm talking about the people in the dark recesses of all the alphabet agencies who do not want this out. Now, the main reason they probably don't want it out is I got to give all credit to Michael Schratt for doing all the work on this. Have you had him on recently, by the way?
No, I got to get Michael back on.
Okay, now, what Michael has been saying for years, and the first time I met Michael many, many years ago, this was our first topic that we talked about. We didn't talk about the crashes that he's really known for, is his artwork and all the things he's done around that. What we talked about was the expenditure in the black budget about how much money they're making off of ufology. Now, in the dark recesses of the ufology, wherever they're, trying to, what do they call that? Back engineer all the technology through Boeing and Lockheed Martin and, all these places. These guys are making millions and millions and millions of dollars in a black budget project where they're charging the regular military $9,000 for a hammer. Well, obviously $8,990 of that is going into a black budget for God knows what, a special access program, okay? Just like Lou used to work on. So the problem we've got is these guys' gravy train will come to an end if ufology is exposed. This is something no one's talking about. This is the truth, guys. Trillions of dollars paying all these scientists to, explore energy beams to see if that will help with their, their triangle black craft that they've re-engineered or whatever they're doing out there with ufology. Whether they've got a secret base with a bunch of aliens living in it and they've got to pay trillions of dollars to bring in, snails from another planet that they can digest. I mean, I don't know where this money's going or what it's being spent on actually, but I'll tell you what, the last thing they're going to do is admit to a politician that they spent $7 trillion last year on feeding aliens. Okay. I mean, if that's the case, right? But so this is why it's never going to happen, folks. I mean, besides the other thing that they just don't want it out there because of national security reasons, because then we're saying to the Chinese and the Russians and every other country that has any kind of spacefaring travel out there is, hey, we've been dealing with these ETs and aliens and their ships for all this time. And yeah, you probably have too, but now we're telling you about it, I mean, they just don't want everybody to know what they're doing, and they're not going to let it out anytime soon. And I agree with him. I agree that not with Lou necessarily, and I'll get into that in a minute, but I agree with Brochette because it's like they're not giving them any info. What do they got to go on? They got nothing to go on. I don't even think these guys understand that there's trillions of dollars behind this whole thing, and that we're never going to get to the bottom of that either. Okay. So there's that part of the equation. Now, what Lou was talking about, if I didn't misunderstand what I read a few years ago, is that he was saying that the woo-woo, the people in ufology that are all woo-woo and doing all this kind of crazy conferences and stuff like that, I think he thought that we were doing a disservice for them trying to expose the UAP problem, and that his show, Unidentified, because I think it was in context to them launching the show, if I remember correctly, was a great way for people to understand what this was like from a military and scientific aspect. Now, tell me if I'm wrong about this, Dave. Wasn't that the context of that kind of article that he wrote? Was saying that, we need.
It was a very strong title for an article that I thought was very well explained, that it is time for ufology to mature.
Yes,
but
and I agreed with it.
On the flip side, he was saying, we need to get away from the Betty and Barney Hill type stories. We need to get into the government safety threat narrative that is going on. But please show me the threat. Please.
Yeah, see, that I remember that now. I remember reading that and getting kind of pissed off because I was thinking, what threat? And then when the show started, I was really upset then because the whole premise of that whole show for 2 years or however long it went was basically we're going to be under attack by the ETs, and we are under attack by the ETs, and we can't explain it when they come attack us. And they never attacked anybody. There wasn't one of those pilots in that whole show that said, oh my God, they shot and killed us. Not one. So I can never figure out why they were going down that road. I'm still trying to figure it out.
And me either. And but let's face it, Lorian, as we've said many a time before, threats equals budgets. And not just a few million, we're talking billions.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking trillions because Michael and I figured out like 15 years ago that they were probably spending billions at that time. But by the time 2020 came around, Michael and I agreed one afternoon we were sitting around. I said, do you think it's hit trillions and trillions yet? He goes, oh my God, it probably surpassed that last year, at least. So we're talking a lot of people are making a lot of money off of this in these agencies. And, there's one other big problem that everybody keeps overlooking. And it's really been bothering me lately. And I got to get this off my chest. There are so many people that are compartmentalized within this whole trillions and trillions of dollar budget and expenditures and what have you, that I'm not sure any of them really know what the hell is going on. I mean, who are the people that oversee the overseers? I mean, Lou doesn't really know what's going on all the way around the block. We're looking at the guy that Melinda knows. I can't remember his name right now. The CIA guy that came out and told the story about being his abduction. Oh well, it'll come to me in a minute. But I mean, there's all these CIA guys. There's John Alexander. There's Salas. Yeah. Colonel Salas. Whatever. The point you talk to all these guys that have been studying ufology forever, and they all have a different piece of the puzzle. None of them have anything that's cohesive and solid on one topic around the whole thing. So who actually are the people running this whole show? I want to know, because I can't figure out who they are. Have you been able to figure that out?
No, there are many people trying to figure out who's calling the shots on this subject. But I think the one thing that we do see happening that is a very strong collective right now is we do see a lot of these people who are very pro ufology starting to say enough is enough. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the fighting online. I'm tired of the UAP versus UFO crowd. I'm tired of the woo-woo. I'm tired of the science. I'm just tired. Okay, because let's face it, the minute politicians and government and military get involved in the subject, it gets exhausting. And I think they are really looking to almost burn us out on the topic, Laurian. They want to burn us out with no information.
Yeah, I agree. And it's getting to that point with the podcasting where it's the same old people over and over and over again. And I'm just, me, I'm always looking for what I call fresh meat. I'm looking for people who have never told their story in their entire life about anything that's ever happened to them. And those are, I revere those people because it takes a lot of guts to get out there and talk about it for the first time on a radio show. And I find it fascinating. I just find it fascinating to hear something new and different and, what's happened to people. I think I'm more of an anthropologist when it comes to the whole UFO contactee thing. I'm like, keeping track of what everybody's been, abducted and how it's happened and what have you. But as far as the other side of it goes, I think you're absolutely right. I think they're just burning us out and they're making it. Here's the other part to it, Dave, that I think is intentional. Absolutely intentional, is they're making it mundane for everybody that's listening to it, and they're just kind of getting it like, oh yeah, ETs exist, the UFOs are there, and who cares? And I got to feed the family, so I got to be at work at 8:00 in the morning. It's becoming just, we're oversaturated, in a weird way. Have you seen how many podcasts there are on YouTube about UFOs? It's mind-boggling. 5 years ago, there were, maybe 50 good ones. Now there's like almost 900 or 1,000. And I can't, I don't know what's good or bad or different. I don't know who knows what anymore. I just don't pay attention because there's too much,
Mm-hmm.
I only listen to Space Scout Radio.
Let's not forget, that is just English speaking podcasts.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right.
Okay? We haven't gotten into the Spanish or the UK ones, or I'm talking just in North America.
Yeah.
All right. We haven't got into the Australian ones, the Japanese podcasts, the South American podcasts. There are thousands of them out there, and they're all having the same guests and pushing for the same people each and every night.
Absolutely.
And I talk to some people who, they never say no because they want to, they love speaking their message. And they're on anywhere from 6 to 8 podcasts a week.
But why? I don't even get it. I mean, I love being on with you, Dave. I really do. And I'm going to be on another show tomorrow, but I probably don't have another show booked for 6 months. It's just because I'm busy and I could take time off from work to do shows. I get asked quite frequently, but I'm just like, what's the point? I've said what I can say, and and you and I have great conversations, so I love being on your show. But honestly, folks, how many times can you hear the person's story over and over and over again? Once you've heard it, their story's not going to change unless they're a grifter and a scam artist. Then their story keeps changing. Isn't that one thing we found out, Dave, is that if their story keeps changing, then there might be something wrong with the story,
Well, I mean, we've seen stranger things happen. But at this point in ufology, and I want to finish up strong with this before we get to some audience questions in the next half hour. Are you concerned that the voices in DC are at the point right now where they want to shut this conversation down?
I
They've
do. I think, yeah, absolutely. I think the Senate people, I think they've heard enough in the skiff. And I also believe, and this is what people, again, don't realize, is the stuff they heard in the skiff probably scared them half to death. Knowing if Grush came in there and said, look, I know this is real. I know those were bodies. Here's the pictures. Here's, whatever to them that a normal contactee would deal with, right? Because we know about this stuff. They probably just flipped out. They probably thought, geez, this is national security stuff. And how much longer can we really push this? And how much can we really tell the American public? We can't. Wasn't the original purpose of that whole Senate hearing thing to help the whistleblowers be able to get the ability not to be harassed after they whistle blew? I mean, I thought that's what it was all about. I didn't know it was going to turn into this whole we got to have disclosure now because of it. And am I wrong about that? I mean, I keep thinking that this is return. The whole UFO community is turning into okay, we're going to get disclosure out of these hearings. Those hearings weren't set up for disclosure. They were set up to discover if there was a threat, to discover what the people had seen in the military, to help the whistleblowers who wanted to talk about it and give them more information. And it wasn't necessarily, defined in the very beginning of these hearings that they said, we are going to be the disclosure hearings. We're going to tell you guys that there is either UFOs or there isn't. So that's where the problem lies in, because now it's turned into that. And I don't think those senators want to be the guys that say, oh my God, there's UFOs and there's aliens. We know it. We know it's a fact, right?
Absolutely. But that's why also, not to brag, but that this show is one of the very few who's been explaining to our audience thoroughly that we are in a confirmation movement and not a disclosure movement. Disclosure means tell all. Tell all. They're not telling us about how they pissed off the aliens at Roswell, by killing their family members. They're not telling us how what their communications are with any type of ET species right now. They're not telling us how many different species that we have that have crashed on this planet. They're not telling us how many craft that they have. They're not telling us whether the acorn at Kecksburg was actually the Nazi bell or an unidentified flying object. They're not telling us what they saw underwater at Shag Harbor that was filmed by the American and Canadian Navy. They're not telling us any of this. We need to know. That's disclosure. We need to know if Bob Lazar is telling the truth. We need to know if David Adair is telling the truth. We need to know if President Eisenhower cut a deal, Humans for Technology. We have a right to know. That is disclosure. What we're getting right now is so far off the reins, but people who bought into this UAP crap back when it came out in 2017, they are the ones who are pushing for any type of message is disclosure. If Joe Biden farted near an aircraft, they would call that disclosure. Right?
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. It's just, to me, it's just ridiculous that people are hinging everything on this. And it wasn't set out to be that. It was set out to be is this really a problem? Are we really going to have to set aside a whole bunch of money because it's a threat? It's not what everybody thinks it is. And they aren't expected to give us that. And why everybody thinks they are, I have no clue, because that's not what it's about. And I feel really bad for the whistleblower people like Rush and those guys, because, they went in it thinking, Well, this is a way for us to finally get the government behind us being able to talk about what has happened to us, okay? Or what we've seen or what we know. All right? That's all they wanted, was be able to like let it be public, right? But they're not even letting them do that because they're saying there's national security issues with it, so we can't talk about it unless we're with you guys in a skiff. So I'm starting to wonder if they're even ever going to let these guys talk about any of this stuff out in the public. Probably
And
not.
And when we get the politicians talking about transparency, I'm sick of hearing the word politician, or the politicians use the word transparency, because
Exactly.
that nothing is coming out.
Yeah,
It's transparent
absolutely.
to them behind a closed door, not to the public. Where's
That's
the
right.
transparency for the public?
Yep. Why do we only get 3 pages of 50? You know, I was like, are you kidding me? Everybody already knows what you guys have given us. You know, give us the stuff we don't know, and they won't.
Well-
So anyhow, I'm not thrilled with what's going on in DC, and like I've been telling everybody all along, we're not going to get any disclosure out of this, and it's an NSA issue, and they're just only going to skirt around it. And then at some point, like you just made a very good point of in the last hour, was they're going to get tired and they're going to go away. And when they get tired and go away, then what do we do?
I think we end up going back to where we were. And that is, we're going to see a lot more conferences. We're going to see a lot more people coming out. But you know what? If you give me the opportunity to speak next year at your conference in San Francisco, UFO Con, or
You
whatever
will be.
it's going to be, I want the opportunity to talk about that there is no such thing as disclosure.
I agree with you. I'm at a point of like total it's disillusionment with the whole word.
That would be a good panel.
Yeah,
Just-
that would be fun. We should do that. Yeah. But you should talk about it too. And then everybody will have our contactees on one side and we'll have our science and political guys on the other. And then we'll try to figure out what disclosure really means and what it's supposed to look like. You know, that would be cool. Because it's not going to happen.
In the meantime, we have television shows coming out that have zero experts telling experiencers that they didn't experience what they saw.
Oh my God, don't even get me started on that.
Oh,
Don't. I saw that. Yeah, don't even get me started.
yeah. We have fake journalists in that show. We have all sorts of stuff. I talked to one person today who was on that show who provided 2 different videos of what he saw and what he experienced with his family.
Mm-hmm.
And they chose the lesser of the 2 videos because it was easier to debunk.
Yeah, you know, that's why
That's where we are.
yeah,
Lori,
I'm starting.
hold on right there, because we
Sure.
are going to break here at the bottom of the hour. When we return, we're going to get to some audience questions regarding this hot button topic: is ufology dying as we speak? Lauri and Fenton is our guest. My name is Dave Scott. This is Spaced Out Radio, and the second half of the show comes up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Okay. Yeah, I can't say much about that show, but I can tell you after the show, you and I are going to have a little talk.
I will call you after the show.
Yeah, we have to, because I forgot about that. I was so pissed. Oh, God, don't even get me started.
Yeah. Yep.
Do I get to mention my 2 upcoming little conferences and my television
Shoot.
network?
Would you really believe that you wouldn't be able to?
Okay, good. I just want to be sure because, you know, I don't know. People are doing weird things nowadays on their shows. They're like, oh, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. I'm like, why?
Lauri,
who cares, right?
you, for everything you have ever done for me, you have frickin' carte blanche.
Cool. Okay. I've got another JFK Jr. birthday part 2 conference coming up on the day he died, which is July 14th. I want to
Nice.
talk just a bit about that for a second.
Sure.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Sure. We can do that.
Okay.
So I had an interesting thing happen last week.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've been doing this radio hit nightly with a radio host out of Philadelphia named Walter M. Sterling. And
Okay.
it's this nationally syndicated show on Sundays called Sterling on Sundays. Well, last Wednesday, Connie Willis hosted, guest hosted for him.
Okay.
And so Walter goes up to her right before the show and says, "Yeah, I do this weird segment with this Canadian guy named Dave Scott, and he has a show up there." She goes, "Dave, I know Dave. We're friends." So Connie and I actually got right into just having just an awesome conversation about radio and how we both had this going. So she's like, I want to bring you on. I got to come on your show, and then you got to come on my show, and we got to just talk about all this stuff. I love her. I do. Her and I have so many parallels.
Yeah, she's very interesting, but I have a bone to pick with her right now. I don't dislike her at all. I just have a bone to pick about Mark McCandlish and what she did on Coast to Coast around his death. I was very upset. But that's, besides that, someday I'm going to call her. I'm going to ask her if we can clear the air on that. And I'm going to come on Coast to Coast, and I'm going to clear the air about what really happened to Mark, because there's been a lot of falsehoods out there, and it's just really sad. And I'll bring Michael Schrad on because he and I did the legwork on that, and also David Adair. David Adair paid for it all.
Right.
So, yeah. But besides that, I really like her, and I do like her on Coast to Coast. I think she's wonderful. She's a great Saturday night. Yeah.
So pro.
Yeah. Love her. She's great. But again, I got to clear the air with her, so I'm going to have to talk to her.
I hear you.
Yeah. But it's okay because, a lot of people were misled about what happened to Mark, and it's not their fault. It's just that the media went kind of nutso, and a lot of people spread false stories, and it's hard to get back from the false stories once they're out there.
Oh, I hear you there.
Yeah. So we'll just clear it up, and actually she should have me on as a guest, and I'll just clear the air, and we'll have a good show. It'll be fun.
That would be cool. That would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
I'm having fun tonight.
Good.
Jason, I know
I thought you'd be, after you said on air that they lost, I thought you'd be crying all night. I was like, oh no, he's going to be crying all night.
Way too much in shock.
I know. That's okay. We got 3 games, I got 4 games left. They're going to win them all.
I hope so.
Well, even if they win 3 and then we get a 7th game, I'll just be thrilled.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd love that.
That's this team.
Yep.
Anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. Thank you tonight to Aloha Dave, T-Bone ×2, W Decker ×3, and Cosmic Joe for the amazing super chats tonight. It really helps out what we do on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. And Sweet Robbie G hosts the After Hours show every Saturday and Sunday night. And we love him around here. So make sure you check him on out as well. Here we go with the next half hour, everybody. We're coming right up in about 5 seconds. into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. UFO Talk with Lauri and Ben will continue right after this, as we want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Lauri and Fenton, we have her till the top of the hour. Is the UFO field dying? Is it dying? Is the story dying? Lauri, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. I love being here. I wish our other guy had made it, but it's okay.
I wish that would have happened too. We're still looking for Jason Guillemette from UAP Studies Podcast. Maybe he got abducted.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's never coming back.
You never go wrong with aliens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's get to some audience questions here. Let's go straight to Polly right off the bat. My question would be, does it matter right or left if everything falls under the same umbrella of lies, secrecy, and national security?
Yeah, well, I totally agree with you. I think it's more of a statement than a question because, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're right or left because this national security thing that they've got going with their trillions of dollars, that they're paying themselves, it doesn't matter because we're never going to get disclosure like everybody's thinking. So, it's my answer. What do you got for us, Dave?
Well, I would agree with what she says. It doesn't matter who is in the hot seat, so to speak. They all seem to be playing games. They're all playing games. They're all wanting us to buy in that they are different one way or another. When it comes to this topic, see, you can play politics with anything you want, but the one thing you can't play politics with is national security, especially in the United States. That's where,
especially when it's around something like terrorism or UFOs or atomic weapons, those type of things. You just can't mess with them.
This isn't about protests. This isn't about hungry people or jobless people or whatever it may be, or healthcare. It's not about that. Well, there are certain topics where everything gets the bipartisan vote, because the one thing about this that I want to remind everybody, everything to this point, when it comes to ufology, has been bipartisan. They've all voted for it, and Republicans have voted against Republicans against this. Democrats have voted against Democrats against this. It's not them versus us or us versus them. This has been a bipartisan topic. I mean, when you can see, two absolute head cases in Matt Gaetz and AOC coming together on the one topic that we love, that tells you there's more to this subject than what is really meeting the eye. And so when it comes to national security, they are all in on this. And I think these young guns of politicians are in on it because they want to know. It doesn't mean they're going to tell the American public, but they want the clearance to know what is going on. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, I don't know if they're going to let them know. I really, even if they're in a skiff with somebody and they see a picture, I think that's about as far as it's going to go. And whoever those people are that are running things that you and I are still trying to figure out who the heck it is, they're not going to let these guys know the whole truth. There's no way. There's just it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, folks, but I know. I just know. Deep in my guts, I know.
Oh, I agree. All right, let's get to another question here. Let's go to Rain. At this point, who would believe anything the government has to say? In my opinion, it is up to us to disclose the information. Now, that's more of a comment than a question, but what is your thoughts on this? Because I have a point I want to make on that too.
I totally agree with you. In your opinion, it's up to us to disclose the information. That's the bottom line. That's what we've been trying to do. I know that's one of Dave's goals. That's one of my goals. I think the day I started my radio show, I said, "What am I doing this for?" And it's to let people to let people know this is real. Number one, number two, to start disclosing all the contactees and getting their stories out there so people don't see it as not as a rarity, that it becomes more known that this does go on and it does happen, and these people are not crazy. I've had everything from doctors and lawyers and just housewives and waitresses. I mean, I've had every walk of life on my radio show in the last 14 years talking about their experiences, and every one of them, you could tell it is the absolute truth, because they all have a similar story, and they're all from different backgrounds and different areas and different towns and what have you. And there's no way these people got together and decided to have that one little piece of the story be all the same, right? That's number one. And number two, or three, this is number three, disclosure was really important to me at that point, but I figured the only way to get it out there was to get people to start telling their experiences. I think things have changed quite a bit in the last 3 years because of the Senate hearings and everything that's going on. But basically, it's still the same. It's up to us. And I think the more people who have stories to tell that aren't the same old people on the podcast like Dave and I were just talking about, we can get new people to come out and start telling their stories. I think we're going to do it ourselves. I think we are. What do you think, Dave?
Well, the attitude of it is that we're going to have to do it ourselves. I don't, as much as I think that is a rallying cry for us getting the information out and doing conferences like yours where you bring in a lot of experiencers to tell their stories. I don't buy into the whole anecdotal evidence stuff. I realize it's anecdotal, but for me, I love a good story. I want to hear how people feel, how they reacted. How did they deal with the PTSD of it all? I want to know all of this. To me, that makes a great story. Does it push the disclosure plan further? No, I don't think it does. But what it does do is it opens the eyes to many more people. The more different voices they hear of people saying, hey, this is happening to me, whether it's aliens, cryptids, or even ghosts, I think is a good thing. Okay. That keeps the conversation going. Now, if we're looking for disclosure, not going to happen. Okay. I think disclosure is personal. I've had my disclosure. You've had your disclosure. Other experiencers have had their own disclosure, but it doesn't mean that we're going to push the movement further. There are too many questions. And the unfortunate part about it is those that we need the answers from are not answering the questions.
Yes, I agree. I want to add one more thing to this. I think every person who knows that it's real, we are already have been disclosed, just like you said. And so there's a whole group of us out there that have already had disclosure on a level that I don't think these people who are talking about crash discs, or whether they're going to blow up the airplane, or whether they're a glowing ball or a cigar shape, or whatever, I don't think they're ever even going to understand our disclosure, because they've just seen the ship flying their jet, right? Like what was the name of the pilot? Captain
David
Faber?
Alex Dietrich.
Yeah, Favor. Yeah. He he's not a believer now. But he has been disclosed on what I call the hardware level, but that's such a level way lower than us contactees. We've got our disclosure to the point where we've been in the ships, we've seen the aliens, we've talked to them. I mean, what more can you ask for, right? I think we're the blessed ones because we've already had our own consciousness disclosure.
Well, I think the other thing too that we have to realize is I was talking to Nicole Sackich about this, Lauri, regarding what I call spider webs. Okay, it's my own little
Okay.
terminology because it's easier for me to understand the point that I'm making in my head. And hopefully I can clarify this for other people. But if you look at all of these people who are so-called names in the scientific and governmental side of the community, whether it's Elizondo, whether it's Mellon, whether it's scientists like Rich Hoffman or Alex Dietrich or
Hmm.
many others, Gary Dolan, another one. Now, this isn't against the person's character when I say this, but for
Hmm.
me, I find it concerning when I see these people on 5, 6, 7, 8 different UFO boards as advisors or board members or board of directors. That to me is a red flag. Now, I haven't put together fully why it's a red flag just yet, but I have everything flashing in my head that's saying caution, caution, caution. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know. I was just thinking that the other day when I saw the UAP board being in front of me with their black and white pictures. And I went, wait a minute, isn't that half of the board of Seoul, or isn't that half the board of the USC or SCU or whatever? And I'm thinking, God, these guys are they're all in bed with each other, you know? And here's the kicker. Did you see what they're doing? They're doing the same thing that the other 5 boards are doing. And, guess what, folks? It's all about getting funding so they can do their own private little research. And they're all, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what the problem here is. Why don't they all just become one big old thing and then just hit us all up for money again, like To the Stars Academy did? They were the first ones to come down the gate and got all that money. So now I think everybody's thinking, oh, I'll just start another organization and get everybody to fund us. But what's the point of all these groups? I can't figure it out. I don't know what they're up to. Do you?
I don't know what they're up to either, but I mean, if I'm putting together, and this is just me, if I'm putting together something with spaced out radio,
Mm-hmm.
I want people on there that are committed to me and the cause. Okay. I don't
Yep.
want them hosting 4 or 5 or 6 different podcasts. I don't want them, I won't allow them to look at my scheduling book and then all of a sudden see my guests with the, booked on their show, you know,
Yeah.
4 days from now or
Yep.
7 days from now. It sounds greedy, but I mean, there's business.
You
You
know
know,
what? I share guests with you. You share guests with me. We do that because we have completely different types of platforms and what we're doing in different audiences, right? Okay. And I totally get it. If you couldn't share them with me, I would totally get that. But most people don't understand that, Dave. And this is another whole thing that just makes me nuts. People call me all the time and they wanted all these phone numbers for all the people it took me years to develop those relationships. So I can call people up and say, hey, you want to be a guest on my show or, whatever. And I did all the legwork. Do you think I'm going to turn around and just dump that all in your lap just because you called me and you're my friend? I'm sorry. I totally understand where you're coming from. It's like, and a lot of these people are newbies and they think that everybody does this for each other. And the reality is, I'm sorry, I guess I'm old school. If I'm going to go through the legwork, the time, the energy, and all that stuff it takes to do stuff, yeah, gladly I'll share that with somebody like Dave because we're not competing with each other. But why would I do that for somebody who's on my own network? Sorry.
absolutely. But I mean, that's kind of the thing, that we need to be able to discuss when we're talking about these subjects of these power groups, these spider webs that are getting in there. I find it incredible. I mean, you have certain people like, let's take Rich Hoffman. Last I counted, he was a part of like 4 or 5 different UFO groups. Why?
Exactly. Why
Why?
do you need to be on 4 or 5 different UFO groups? I don't even get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. Melinda's calling me right now. I need to tell her I'm on Spaced Out Radio.
All right. You tell her that. She's probably listening in right now and listening
Oh,
to.
she's calling to beg to be on with us.
Well, we only got about 8 minutes left, Melinda. So don't really have enough time.
Okay, there we go. That's that. Okay.
I love Melinda.
Or she needed to call. You guys, we're going to Vegas for our birthdays. So that's probably why she's really calling.
Well, you know what? We appreciate that. Let's get to another question here.
Yeah.
Our audience. Let's go to Polly again. Ufology can't be dying because consciousness is only getting stronger. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Paulie, that is a very interesting correlation between consciousness and ufology because, in my opinion, and I started out doing the mind control conferences back in 2012, 13, and 14. And when I did those, the reason I did them is because after so many years of being involved in ufology, I had come to the conclusion that the mind control by the ETs, our government, and the media, right, in that time frame was getting to the point where they were deciding how to get us to think about ufology. Okay. And I wanted to explore how this mind control was working with everything. Little did I know I fell down a huge rabbit hole, and I got a lot of people in a lot of places in a lot of trouble. And I even got tortured myself during that little experiment of the mind, is what I call it. Because there's one thing I can tell you guys right now. The government has been trying to control our thoughts about ufology, religion, God, everything that goes on in the world, to the point where it's one narrative and it's their narrative. Okay. Those of us who are contactees, though, think out of the box according to how this all should play out. And that is a huge problem for them. So they are unable to easily control people who are contactees, and their consciousness is awake because we're in touch with ET. And we are just more, and we're much more spiritual beings. And I'm not saying religious, I'm saying spiritual beings, because once you've been contacted, you understand that you are just, a gnat in the universe. Okay. And you understand that there's something greater out there than just, you or the planet or whatever. And they have a really hard time controlling us. But that's the main goal for them, is to dampen our consciousness and keep us unaware and following their narrative. And it is through a type of mind control, whether it be through the media again or through politics. Especially the media and our cell phones and the TV. You guys know the drill. But I'm just saying, it's an interesting correlation you made, but I absolutely believe that it's not dying for us, but it's going to become very narrative driven, our consciousness, if we don't pay attention and keep them from, mind controlling all of us here on the planet. So I hope I made sense with that. I'm just trying to get to the point that consciousness is really what sets us apart, is our ability to understand that we are a very conscious being and we're in connection with other types of beings themselves. So.
All right, we got time for a couple more questions here. We got about 4.5 minutes. Let's go to live from the morgue. I asked in chat, now curious your answer. If a UFO landed and was on the news, 100% proof worldwide, would people care? Would they change anything? And if so, what?
That goes right back to what I just said. I swear to God, I was listening to the Bob Bigelow TV show. I mean, the 60 Minutes interview with Bob Bigelow. What was that, 5 years ago now? And he's sitting there on 60 Minutes with millions of people watching it. And he says, yeah, UFOs have landed. They're here. And aliens live among us, basically, is what he said. And I thought, oh, good, my job is over. Everything's done. It's been exposed. Disclosure just happened. Yeah, And you know what? The next day, nobody even called me from MUFON to even say, oh my God, we're so, it's been exposed. It's all done. We're going to pack up and go home now. Nothing. It was absolutely nothing. So live from the morgue, I got to tell you this. My gut feeling says if the thing landed tomorrow and it was 100% proof, I don't think anybody would care. Honest to God, we're getting to the point where we're so mind controlled that, first of all, most people wouldn't believe it. Even if it was real, I don't think they'd believe it. So that's half the battle right there, because they have us to the point now where we can't trust anything. Anyhow, that's my opinion.
What information do you think the government knows that they could disclose?
That's a very good question. I got to think about this for a second. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I tend to think that they could disclose that certain crashes have happened, that they do have certain materials that they've recovered. Where they are, they don't need to tell us. What they've done with them, they don't need to tell us. But it would be nice if they, say, presented a photo or a video of saying, we found this object near Mystic, Alaska. All right. And it crashed there in 1956, and we don't know what it is. There were no occupants on board, but here's a photo of it. That's all we need. I think they could do that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking that when the question was being sent and you were talking, I was thinking, what have they already told us? And they've already pretty much said that they have a secret base. They have Dreamland or Area 51. That probably something happened at Roswell. I think they've kind of disclosed that. The Phenomenon movie disclosed that Gary Nolan has actually taken a piece of metamaterial, they call it, which is a piece of a ship, and put it under an electron microscope. And let's see, what else have they given us? I'm not sure, but they've given us little pieces of stuff. And I think you're right, Dave. I think you're absolutely right. I think they're going to give us like a one chunk or two chunks of like, we've got this ship, we captured it here, or it landed there, or it crashed here. And I don't think they're going to tell us about any ETs that were on it, though. I think you're right. I think you're going to keep it, definitely to a metallic object or this or what have you. And that's it.
I know I'm leaving some questions on the table, but unfortunately it is that time of the night where we have to shift gears and say goodnight to you, Lauri and Fenton, and your great work tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I love you, and you're absolutely amazing with your knowledge and just your conversation with our audience. It makes for great radio. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a blast. And next time you have a panel together, bring me on. I'd love to be on a panel sometime.
Yeah, I haven't done many panels lately because they were getting too podcasty.
Oh, yeah. I totally get it. Yeah.
So, they were getting too podcasty where everybody's trying to overtalk everybody, and I didn't like it. So I banned
Makes me crazy.
I banned them for a while, but I will get back into them. Laurian, you're one of the best. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio as we kick off hour number 3, a spooky story from Steve Stockton. Then Robin Haynes will be here for the Crypted Report, Dave 101 Night, and the Weird News of the Week. All coming up in hour 3 next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Great job, Laurian. Great job.
Thanks for having me. That was fun. I really enjoyed it. I would like to have talked to Jason, though. I wanted to hear his opinions about things. So that would have been fun.
I wanted to. I hope everything's okay. I'll reach out to him.
Let me know.
A bunch of savages in our chat room right now going off about eating breakfast foods for dinner. Absolutely. Breakfast foods are for breakfast, people. For breakfast.
I like waffles and chicken, though. That's good.
Of course you do.
I like anything. I'll eat anything. But I'm getting hungry. So call me after the show.
I will. I will. I'll
Call
you
me.
right.
I'll be waiting for you.
All right. Much love, my
Okay,
dear.
sweetie. Take care. Good night.
Good night. Hi, Mike Bothwell. I'll be right back, guys. Steak and eggs is breakfast food. hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in. And thank you to all of our listeners listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live at KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Mammothurp. Mammothurp is your password. Use it wisely. Space Travelers, as the Clam, sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and his new channel, True Tales, or Tales Untold, rather, and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Now, I've always been a city kid, born and raised in the concrete jungle of Los Angeles. But last summer, I decided to step out of my comfort zone and explore the natural beauty of some of California's state and national parks. Little did I know, the wilderness held more than just scenic views and fresh air. It all started when I embarked on a solo backpacking trip through the Sequoia National Park. The first day was uneventful, filled with the usual awe-inspiring sights of towering trees and crystal clear streams. I set up camp as the sun began to set, the silence of the forest broken only by the occasional chirp of a cricket or the hoot of an owl. As I lay in my tent, I felt a strange sensation of being watched. I shrugged it off as nerves, a common side effect of city dwellers adjusting to the wilderness. But as the night wore on, the feeling intensified. Suddenly, I heard rustling in the bushes, what sounded like soft footsteps and quiet voices that seemed to echo from every direction. The next morning, I found footprints around my campsite. They were bare, human-like, but with a strange, almost animalistic quality to them. I suddenly felt a chill as I realized I wasn't alone out here. I decided to cut my trip short and head back to civilization. But as I packed up, I noticed a figure watching me from the edge of the forest. It was human, but wild and unkempt, with long, matted hair and eyes that glinted with a primal intensity. It disappeared as soon as I made eye contact, leaving me with an unsettling feeling of dread. I hiked back to my car as quickly as I could, but the feeling of being watched never left me. I heard more voices, more footsteps, and saw more figures darting between the trees. By the time I reached my car, I was in a state of near panic. I thought, well, that'd be the end of that, but I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, I heard stories of other bears and deer and big cats. You're sharing it with something else, something wild and unpredictable. And if you hear voices in the night or feel eyes watching you from the darkness, don't look back. Just keep walking. Because some things are better left unseen.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Tales Untold for another weird story. We appreciate Steve coming on in. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel. They are all free right there. All right, from the missing to the mysterious, let us go to Robin Haynes, who's back for the Cryptid Report. Robin Haynes comes in each and every week to discuss the weird, the strange, and the wacky when it comes to the cryptids that walk among us. Are they out there? I do believe they are. And Robin is here to tell us all about them. Robin, thank you for coming in.
Hi, how are you? I missed you guys.
Yes, it's good to have you back. I have some questions for you.
Sure.
So this past weekend, I went out to my 2 cryptid spots. And there's one thing that, and I took someone new out there with me, my good friend Tim, my new friend. Yeah, it's hard to believe. At 51 years, I have a brand new friend. His name is Tim. And he's a good dude. And him and his wife, Lauri, helped me out with the ghost tour and everything. And I think that's absolutely great. And long story short, I take him out and I show him our spots because he has a vested interest in a lot of these topics. He hasn't had a lot of experiences with it, but it's something he believes in and wants to learn more about, which I think is perfect. I think that needs to happen with a lot more people out there. Now, that being said, we get to our first spot, and when we get there, it is goosebumps all over our bodies. Okay. Now, this is an area that has a lot of wolf tracks, moose tracks. There were a couple of different bear tracks. We even saw one grizzly bear track. Okay. And which is cool. We're in their area. Why not? It works for me. I'm sure it'll work for them. And I was explaining to him about the feeling. I kept asking him, what are you feeling? Because for me, Robin, and I'm curious how you feel as well, cryptids seem to have a different type of energy than most animals out there. And I was wondering if you could explain why that is.
Well, number one, they're not an animal. They are a human hybrid, so there's that. But aside from that, you're talking about all the cryptids, the ETs, dimensionals, elementals, all of those things are a higher frequency being. So their frequency is excessively higher than ours. Energetically, their energy level is much, much higher than ours. And I don't mean like they have energy where they can run out and play, 12 basketball games in a row. This is more of an internal energy that comes from the essence, your soul, your consciousness. And it's at a much higher level than ours is. And then you combine that with the amount of frequency they have. The frequency and the energy is what causes you to feel like your hair is going to stand on end or you get goosebumps. It's because your body reads energy and your body will read it before your brain will. There's a disconnect that goes from the body to the brain. So it takes the brain a little bit longer to catch up. So your body reacts first before your brain has time to think about it. Your body is going to read that the energy is different. It's going to read that the energy and the frequency is higher, and that causes you to get the goosebumps. And that's why you get that different feeling. Animals, even out in the woods, are a higher frequency and energy than we are. Like we're like on the bottom of the totem pole, but they are still lower than these cryptids. And the cryptids' frequency and energy is through the roof. The frequency and the energy is why they are able to access the paranormal abilities that they have. The higher the frequency, the more abilities and the more power that they have. And so they are a high-powered, frequency and energy being. They just are. And that's what causes that reaction with us.
See, the way I look at it is when we were in that area, we were able to have that feeling, just that gut feeling that we were being watched. We didn't see anything. And it's funny, we wandered into different areas, never felt it. We walked back to our original area where we parked the vehicle, goosebumps.
Yeah, they're probably watching you when you pulled in and watching the cars. And if you remember a few shows ago, you asked me and you said, it's like there's nothing there. Everything is gone. And I said, you wait, they'll be back. They always come back. They have their own laws, they have their own rules, they have their own things for their clan. They have their own business they attend to, believe it or not. And so there are times when some of the ones that would be more apt to contact with you and connect with you, which would be more like the watchers, the guards, the warriors, they try to keep the women and children back safe away from us. Once in a while you'll see a female, but it's predominantly more they see male. And those females are normally ones that will go out and do various things for the clan. That's why you see them. A lot of them just stay home where the kids are. So they have things to do. They have places to go, people to see, just like we do. So it's not unusual for them to disappear and just be gone for a very short time and come back. Or, something might have wandered into the area that they didn't feel was safe for the children and they moved everybody out of there temporarily. But 9 out of 10 times they come back.
Now, that feeling that we had that we were not alone there, is that a feeling of energy that the creature is putting out, or is it a feeling of us picking up whatever frequency the forest is offering?
Actually, a little bit of both. Number one, they radiate it. And this has been proven time and time again that if you use one, I guess they call them the Geiger counters or whatever that would measure radiation, if you put one even next to one that has passed, it's going to show radiation. Now, whether or not it is actual radiation or if that's just how it reacts to that equipment, I'm not sure. What I can tell you is this. They have the highest frequency and the energy, and that is the problem. When you have researchers that have constant contact with them, myself included, I interact with these things daily. If not through mind speak, through physical contact, whether it be out in the woods and they're a few feet into the bush or whatever, I have that contact with them. But there are a lot of times because that energy is so strong. I had one walk right up to me and he was like less than 8 foot from me. His energy was so strong, it was overpowering. He never zapped me. I've never been zapped at this point. I mean, knock on wood, I don't know why, but I haven't as of yet. But your body picks it up. Your body will always read energy before the brain will. Okay, so your body will know that there's a change in energy. It doesn't matter if there's a change in energy from a tree, from a dog, from a Sasquatch, from a dog man, whatever. It picks up on that. Your body reacts to it first. It's like when you were a kid, there was always that kid in school that you did nothing to, but that child was mean to you, no matter what, and you could never figure out why. It's because they're a dark energy and frequency. You're a light energy and frequency. The dark always tries to squish out the light. So the body reacts first, and your body's going to pick that up before anything is said or done. It's the same thing in this case. So you are going to automatically feel that there's a difference in that frequency and energy before they even do anything. Not that it can't be picked up or in any other way, but you are automatically going to feel it from them because it's going to be different. So your body will react to it before your brain ever will have a moment to think about it and process what's going on. Your brain will.
How far away do they have to be in order to pick up that signal?
Well, when your frequency is high, and I know how crazy this sounds, but it's true. When your frequency is high, you emit a glow. Kind of think of like the bat signal from Batman, how it goes straight up in the air. So as your frequency gets higher and it hits a certain level, you are going to glow, and that glow, it's like a white beam that's going to go straight up. So anything in a paranormal spectrum can see it. It doesn't matter how far away it is, they're going to see it. Now, when you're talking about just going out in the woods and, you have a little bit higher frequency than you normally do, but your frequency is going to raise by being happy, being joyous, having your higher energy, not depressed, it raises the frequency. There's other things you can do to raise it as well. So you go out with them and they're automatically going to feel it. It doesn't matter. They can be a couple miles away and pick up that there's, a change in the energy, that there's a change in that frequency. The closer you get to them, the stronger it's going to be. Now, for people that are out in the field with them every day and doing research or being active or going out in these areas where they can see them, you can tell them, my body can't handle the energy that you're pushing. Can you pull it back? 9 out of 10 of them will actually do that if they feel they're in a safe situation. If they're unsure about you, if they don't know if they're safe, then they're not going to do that. I've had really good luck with them because people that tend to have ongoing contact and yet they feel that frequency and that energy all the time, it's the same thing that people that you find that work with ETs. They get brain tumors, they get masses all over their body, whatever, they have illnesses. It's because the frequency and energy is so strong and overpowering, it ends up affecting us just like it would if you had radiation poisoning. And you end up getting sick from it. So, I learned this a long time ago. So now when I'm interacting, the first thing I do is say, can you pull it back? My body can't handle it. It's a 3-dimensional body. Doesn't matter what frequency I am. My body's still 3D. Can you pull it back? Like my consciousness might be at a higher dimensional level. Your physical body is still your physical body, and it's very easy to hurt it. And they generally have been really good about pulling it back for me. I haven't had a problem with them doing that. Now, a couple months ago, I was out in the woods. I had one that walked right up to me, 8 foot away, and this guy had so much power to him, I literally had to take 2 steps back and sit down. And he never zapped me. But it radiates from their body. They're not doing it on purpose any more than we are trying to do it with the frequency that we're at. It's part of what they are. Now, when you say to them, please pull it back, it's too hard for me, they can be a little bit more noticeable and pull it back, but it's never going to completely go away because it's what they are. It's just part of their body makeup.
Well, being part of their body makeup, I get that. But to me, when I'm in an area, and it happened in both areas where we felt like we were being watched, Robin. Okay. When we were there, now these spots are probably 10 miles apart, 15 miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, they can track you that far. That's nothing.
So I get that, and I can understand with the frequency, but are they there viewing us at that time when we are feeling it, or are they just picking up on our energy in that area?
Okay, are you talking about if they're that far away, are they still able to view you?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, they can remote view. Second, because they're so telepathic, they can pick you up in a heartbeat. They can focus on you and they can astral project so they can see what you're doing. And they all can remote view. The other thing they'll do is they will send other animals in the forest, whether it's a hawk, an eagle, a raccoon, whatever, and they will go and send them to you, and they literally look through their eyes and see what you're doing. So it's all done through the collective consciousness. People don't realize right now, they're starting to, but they haven't fully really engulfed it, that everything is done through this collective consciousness. Your consciousness is what controls everything. And these guys are so far ahead of us when it comes to dealing with everything on a consciousness level. They have no problem doing that. I have some, and one in particular, that if I'm having problems with anything, I don't even have to call out for him, and he's like Johnny on the spot. Or, he'll mind speak to me, are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, God, it happened like 30 seconds ago. Yes, I'm fine, but, do you ever not watch me? It's like you're being spied on all the time. Once they take an interest in you, if they want to, per se, they're 15 miles away, but you're over by where their home is at, all they have to do is focus their intent and their consciousness on that area, and they will get a visual in their mind of what's going on there.
That's it. Would it be the same clan?
Yeah, it absolutely would be. I mean, it can be whatever clan chooses to do so. And that's the other thing. Like, let's say the clan that is normally in that area is gone for the day. They can have the raccoons, they can have the hawks, the bluebirds, whatever they want to do, watch that area. And as soon as they see anything, they're going to notify them because, again, everything is telepathic. We're telepathic. We've just been told by the powers that be that we're not. Everything is telepathic. Whether they decide to use that telepathy or not is different.
Okay, so knowing that, okay, the fact that we're in that area, we're checking it on out, we're feeling like that we're being watched. Everything is good. Nothing feels demonic. Nothing feels evil. Nothing
Right.
feels horrid. It's kind of like, hey, you're back in our area. What are you doing here? What's going on? Where have you been? Like, it seems like there's a lot of questions that go along with that.
Well, the other thing they can do is, if a bunch of them are gone, they will leave a guard to guard their area. And as soon as that guard picks you up, because they're telepathic and they work through the collective consciousness, they're going to notify the others. They can be 100 miles away and you're ratted out. Because that one guard that they've got watching the place has already told them through the collective consciousness and through telepathy that you are there.
Got it. Robin, we got 20 some seconds left with you tonight. Thank you again for being here. We very much always appreciate
Yeah.
We'll talk to you next week, my friend.
Okay. Thank you for having me, guys. Have a good night. Bye.
It's always a quick hit with Robin Haynes. Always a quick hit. Too quick. But we love her around here. And, she'll be back again next week with another update on the Cryptid Report. Yeah, go search for them monsters out there. They're out there. And it's a lot of fun. Coming up next, it's Day 101 night. Strange news of the week. Final half hour, Spaced Out Radio is next.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Excuse me. For some reason, I don't understand why in my system, but when I mute myself, the audio goes off on the computer. I don't get that. I'll have to rearrange something. Shouldn't be that way. Yeah, there has been feces found, Mike Bothwell, of Sasquatch. It looks like giant human type of poop. Castle Dude, any ghostly activity lately? You know what? I went to the museum this past weekend, and I felt so bad for my group that I took on a tour. We we didn't get anything. It was one of those weird nights that we did not get a damn thing. So weird. Dave, what is my favorite breakfast? Eggs Benedict. That or a Denver omelet coated in hollandaise sauce. I love hollandaise sauce. If you ever want to try something really good, like if you're ever having steak and shrimp one night for dinner, that's a rarity around my place. But if you're ever having steak and shrimp for dinner, cook the shrimp in hollandaise sauce and then pour the shrimp and the hollandaise over a nice medium rare steak. It is heavenly. Just going to tell you. It is absolutely heavenly. There's my cooking tip for tonight. You're a sick man, Robbie G. Sick man. All right, let's just get my booklet out here. Rob G. Breakfast for dinner. Wants eggs with steak and shrimp. Not good. All right. Yeah. Excuse me, guys. A couple minutes left. Jennifer, I am not all better yet. My left one is still plugged. The good part about it is I have no more pain in my ear. No more pain. That's good. Like, I can actually touch my ear now and not have any pain whatsoever. And it's been like that all day. It started feeling better yesterday. I mean, my ear is still plugged, but we're working on that. Paul Demon, it's going to be one of the most amazing stories ever written if they do. I irrigate my sinuses by taking teaspoons of hot sauce and letting the burn go down. Hurts like hell if you got a good, nice, hot sauce. But haven't today. Thank you to W. Decker with a hat trick, T-Bone ×2, Cosmic Joe, and Aloha Dave for the great super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love. And we got about 8 seconds here before we're going to launch. So sit back, relax. Here we go. Hi, Justin Goodearth. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're warming up for Dave 101. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, our archives are always free on every major podcast network as well as YouTube. Only thing I want in return is you hit the follow or subscribe button. Doesn't matter whether it's YouTube or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night where I say, get off my lawn, people. Why? Well, it's because it's Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Open up the door, it's Dave! Dave, D-A-V-E!
So is ufology dying? That's a big question that we have that we want to discuss because it is still a hot button topic. If you love the topics that we talk about each and every night here on the Mighty SOR. Now, some people will agree. Others will say, Dave, you are full of it. and just shut up. Shut up. But you know what? I will say this. I told you so. I told everybody for years, and I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that cranky guy who said, dang, burn it, you should have listened to me. Back in my day, we knew what we were talking about. Nope, but I'm going to be that guy and tell everybody out there, everyone, disclosure's not happening. It is not happening whatsoever. And why? Because the powers that be do not want it to happen. We're going to have to get used to it, people. You don't have to like it. I don't like it. But they're not going to cough up the answers that we want to have. It is a big joke to them in an unjoking fashion to shut this conversation down, and they are doing it. It all started a year ago when we heard the United States Navy stating, we're not going to play the UFO game anymore. You guys have enough videos. You have enough information. We've told you what we want to tell you, and that's it. Good enough. Goodbye. And it's all spiraled downhill there. Sure, there's going to be attempts, and I do have some options that I think could be the wild cards in pushing this subject forward. But as for many out there, I am not looking forward to more disclosure hearings. So far, for the most part, outside of the David Grush testimony, these hearings have been all for naught. Very little information, a lot more conjecture, and a lot more word spew about what can be said in public and what can't. And that goes behind a glass wall or a dry wall or a cement wall in a skiff. Many of our listeners who've listened to this show or had their own experiences will say, I don't need disclosure. I've already had it. And good for you. Good for you. I've had it too. There's nothing that can convince me further from my own experiences that I've had. A show like this, if you've never had an experience, tries to bring those experiences to you through the knowledge of people who have either A, researched it, or B, experienced it with their own mind, body, and soul, their own five senses going through the ringers as they are taken by aliens onto a craft. If you don't believe this subject is happening, well, that's up to you too. You're allowed to believe that it's not happening. But what we do know, whether you believe in this topic or not, there are things happening in Washington, D.C. that do not want this subject to go any further. How much further it goes, we're going to have to wait and see. One of those wild cards would be the book Lou Elizondo is writing. What if he names names? Now, that book isn't due out until August 20th. Now, if you're like me, I've already got my pre-order, and I will look forward to it coming through the mail, through Amazon, finding its way to the middle of nowhere, British Columbia, and into my hands. I don't read a lot of the books because I talk to a lot of the people, but this one I'm very interested in. Very interested. And I plan on spending a weekend going front to back on that book and maybe over again. I think if he names names, it could open up the doors. If David Grush's op-ed comes out and he names new names, that could open up the front door. But you see, there's a powerful little thing in Washington, D.C., which is called the law, that doesn't play into the favor of many of these people, because those who create the laws also skid very close to the law when it comes back to, trying to threaten people with careers, with job situations, with pensions, with opportunities, and so on and so forth. Because, we wouldn't want the law to protect those who want to speak a good truth, especially when it comes to UFOs. See, I don't see anything wrong with what David Grush or any other whistleblowers are doing. I wish they were given the opportunity to provide more proof. And when I say proof, I'd like more videos. I'd like more testimony. I'd love more names. Give us the names of who's telling you not to talk about this. Because realistically, we know a few, but we don't know them all. We don't know who's in control of the subject. Is it the Navy? Is it the Air Force? Is it a secret government agency that no one knows about that is calling the shots on disclosure for groups like the NRO, the NSA, the CIA, and many others? Or it might just be a big ruse where they are just covering up, and they mean it by national security, because those toys we are calling UFOs are actually ours. I find that hard to believe, considering we are seeing this technology all over the world every night of the week. And it's not just me or one or two other people, but you could have people who've never met before, whether they live in Holland, whether they live in South Africa, Thailand, Australia, Canada, the United States, anywhere on this planet. When we run with this subject and we want to see it happen, we do have to ask ourselves, is this new price of disclosure worthy of our dollars, worthy of our thoughts, worthy of our emotions? And right now, I don't think it is. I've been doing this nearly 10 years, talking about this subject, studying this subject for 13 years. I've never seen ufology in such a quandary as it is today. And it's because the disclosure movement has changed. It's changed to the point where it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. It's not about the people. It's no longer about the stories. It's about people who, and the majority of them, have never seen a UFO before, but they believe this is happening, and they need what they hide behind the words empirical evidence. We're never going to get that empirical evidence. We have to stop asking for it. It's a waste of breath and a waste of money and a waste of time. Well, people will say, well, if we don't pressure them, they're not going to know. They can just hide it under the table. They're going to hide it under the table whether you want to or not. There is no pressure going on, okay, that could convince them to risk national security because of one person on UFO Twitter who has an issue with the cover-up. That's not the way this works. We need to be accountable to ourselves and our own experiences. Now, I don't believe disclosure comes from the people either. I believe disclosure is individual. I've had it for myself. Many of you have had it for yourself. And hopefully someday, those who've never had an experience, you'll get your own disclosure one night when you least expect. Maybe you're driving home from a night at the baseball diamond, watching some minor league baseball play somewhere in the Southwest. Maybe you are driving home from your son's football game or your daughter's cheerleading practice or basketball game, and you see something weird up in the sky. Maybe you're just sitting in your back patio, having a nice, relaxing night on your lawn chair, and you're staring up at the stars, counting satellites, when something flies by that sure as heck doesn't look like a satellite and isn't on flight radar trackers. That's where things get fun. That's where things get interesting. And my comment to you is, if you are waiting for somebody like the President of the United States to come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, we've been contacted from another civilization, not of this earth, you got another thing coming. When we have people in the disclosure movement who don't even know how the media works and go to the one network that wants nothing to do with these UAPs, and then we are left wondering why we scratch our head, never making the move to move the ball forward. That's why. And the government people know, because I know they listen to this show, and they'll laugh when I say this. So hi to all the agents and agencies tuning us in right now. We very much appreciate you listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Ring that bell. We know that they don't care about what you think or I think. It's so beyond what we are talking about that we will probably never grasp the concept of what is really going on. Whether or not we have crash retrievals, whether or not we have alien bodies. I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy here with everything, guys. I'm not at all. But there's a reality to this new ufology that doesn't make sense. That's why I think it's important to share more stories of people just like you and I who've had the ultimate unknown experience, and they want to talk about it, and they're ready to talk publicly about it. But the whole point of not knowing your medium, that's a dangerous play. See, the one thing, if I was a PR person, that I would do is I would never segregate my audience. I would know where my audience tunes into for these stories. I would know where my audience is getting their information. I would know where my potential audience is listening in order to find out those facts, whether it's a show like ours or whether it is News Nation or Vetted or many other shows that are out there regarding this topic. That's the way it should be. You don't sit there and go to the one network. And Danny Sheehan's a smart man. I love him as a guest on this show. But I would like to know the answer. Why would you choose CNN when CNN has done nothing to push the ufology disclosure movement forward? They've laughed at us. They've stopped covering this story. Don Lemon, when he was there, made fun of this topic about little green men. We don't need that. We don't need X-Files music. We don't need snarky journalists who think they know better than us. Okay? Because they've never researched this topic, but by damn, they have an opinion on it. We don't need that. We need accountability from the journalists that are out there taking this story seriously and realizing that it is a story of worth. It is worthy of print. It's worthy of camera time. It's worthy of talk show time. But disclosure, it's not even fun anymore. I mean, I don't know about you guys. You've listened to enough of these shows to know that my level of frustration with this topic is growing more and more by the day. There are more players coming out, more people who are so-called experts on the field, people who know nothing about experiences, telling experiencers what they had and had not experienced. It would be incredible to see it happen, but it's not. So on that note, as we wrap up this Dave 101 for this week, just remember, don't hold your breath for disclosure. If you've had an experience you've already you already know, pardon me. If you've never had your experience, well, then you know that something will come along that will change your mind, whether it's someone's story or your own encounter. That's disclosure.
What time is it? It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
All right, let's get right to it. We've got some really cool story to start off with. I think you'll like this one. This one put a smile on my face. A Michigan man who left school to fight in the Korean War has finally received his high school diploma at the age of 90. Portage Public Schools said in a news release that Bob Bonhomme was issued an honorary high school diploma from Portage Central High School, where he attended classes before being drafted into the military in 1951. Bonhomme said he had often considered returning to school, but over the years his attentions were focused on his 40-year career at the paper mill and raising his 4 children. Life just got in the way, always, Bonhomme said. He was having breakfast with his daughter-in-law, Diane, when she asked him about his bucket list. I wish I had graduated and gone to the prom, Bonham answered. His daughter-in-law soon contacted Portage Public Schools in the hopes of making his wish for a diploma come true. I saw the desire in his eyes when he talked about it, she said. Before his life was over, I wanted to make sure he got to enjoy and do those things. She spoke with the public school superintendent, Mark Bailing, and soon the elder Bonham was presented with his diploma Monday at a meeting at the local school board of education. We are honored to give Bob his diploma, something he sacrificed years ago to serve his family and country, Bailing said. Thank you for your service to our country. Doesn't that warm your heart? That's an incredible story, and thank you for your service, sir. Bigfoot has been caught on camera again, if this man's footage is to be believed, described by some as the best footage ever recorded since Patterson-Gimlin of the otherwise mythical creature. The man has been hailed for catching this peculiar monster in the woods. Bigfoot, sometimes thought of as a type of animal, but commonly referred to as Sasquatch in Canada and America, is a large, hairy, ape-like creature that's said to roam the woods. There have been hundreds of photos and videos that claim to show the figure making its way across North America wilderness over the years, but it is thought that evidence from a man named Josh Highcliffe stands head and shoulders above the rest. Josh uploaded the harrowing footage he captured on YouTube in 2013, which has since gone viral with over 1.3 million views. He labeled the video, I think I saw a skunk. Oh, man, I'm so excited about this. I think I saw a skunk ape. Please help. Seeking guidance from the online community with a skunk ape, also known as the Florida Bigfoot, which is believed to roam the southeastern U.S. Josh revealed that the footage was taken approximately 9 miles west of Tunica, Mississippi, on his hunting property as he was out hunting dogs. Well, I don't get that. Why would he be hunting dogs? Okay. Despite assuming that it was an animal at first, he noticed the big shoulders, hands, and head before running off in horror. My first instinct was to run. I didn't even think of shooting. Then I know no one will believe me, he wrote. It was just like everything slowed down. I was scared. I took out my iPhone and started videotaping it. I guess I pushed the record button twice because it stopped blinking red, but I pushed it again. I hear a truck driving down the road and the thing stood up. I was trying to be dead quiet. When it stood up, I could not control myself and ran. Josh went on to explain that he guessed the size of the being to be around 7 feet tall. Although it's been a few good years since he shared the sighting, people continue to comment on the video to say it's one of the best of its kind. One wrote, honestly, this is probably the best footage ever recorded. Amazing that it's not talked about more. Another said in 2021, the best video to date, and it's 8 years old. Congratulations, Josh. You've held the record for some time now. It looks so natural, like it's in its element, a third added. When you hear the crack of the wood when it rips it out of the ground, it's got some real strength. Wow. Let's sneak in one more here. And a waitress in North Carolina revealed she was fired after she posted a video on TikTok of a customer who brought in an inflatable sex doll to the restaurant as his date. Server Tara Bjork posted a clip, no words, which has since garnered more than 2.6 million views. Okay, I'm not supposed to be making TikToks at work, but this calls for it, she said to the camera. I work at a nice restaurant in Charlotte. I need you guys to see what just came in the door. She continued before panning the table and zooming into the man sitting opposite a blow-up doll. The video, or the doll, was yellow blonde hair, appeared to be wearing a black slip dress. The video went viral, and it was shared 2 weeks ago, but she was fired for it. She goes, I knew two things were going to happen. It would get no views, and I'd be fine, or it'd blow up, and I'd be fired. So she was expecting this for making the guy look like a fool in public. I don't know how I feel about that one. Let's know how you do. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. The seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. You know, sometimes I get lost in those Dave 101s. I literally forget where I am on the subject. It happens. It dude. It totally dude. All right. You guys all having a good night? Hi, Purple Cupfish, Bombshell Bomber, P8 Turtle Dove. Nice to see y'all. Deboruni, thank you for the super chat. It's going to be feeling normal again. Even though I'm only about half normal right now. On the path to healing. Yeah, thanks for joining us live from the morgue. We appreciate that. Welcome to the chat room. By the way, since you're the rookie here, please restock the bar after we leave. I think that's only fair as rookie initiation. Oh, I'm happy my ear didn't explode either. That would have sucked. It was hurting really bad, like earlier this week. Like, I didn't know what was happening. Like, the one day I took seven hot showers and just put my ear underneath the hot water as hot as I could take it, just to relieve the stress and pain. It was so bad. My daughter's graduation went amazing. Very proud of her. She graduated with honors, which is nice. I'm not going to lie. I did have a few tears in my eyes. Yeah, it was freaking awesome. Perfect. 1 second, peeps. No animals out to play yet. Looking. Not seeing any. Otherwise, I was going to totally put them on. All right, come on. Let's get to it here. That's probably what right there.
What Michael has been saying for years.
I got to get Michael back on.
Okay, and when it's.
Where do we stand on this? Do we think ufology is dying?
Well,
Oh, that ain't it. Oh, I already cut. SOR tray. The Mighty Reds. Why are you not reporting on the Las Vegas aliens in the backyard? You have witness testimony and video footage of entities. Are you people just gatekeepers? Yes, we're gatekeepers of not broadcasting the story. You heard it here first. Seriously, what kind of freaking question is that? Have you tuned us in before and heard us talk about it? The many times that we did, even when the story got revitalized? Do you know that I'm in contact with the guy, the professional videographer, who is broken down the video and believes it's real? Do you know that I'm trying to get a date with him for the show? Oh, you don't? Okay, but let's just assume that we're gatekeepers. How about that? Heroic. Real heroic. But that's okay. I know, I got to get Michael back on the show. I was texting with him. Hey, Tim, didn't we have that exact conversation in Reno? Little Cam over on YouTube just got out of the gym, did 332 pull-ups in 2.5 minutes. Hi, Chris. How you doing? That's true. How would you remember? God, what was I thinking? I'm sorry for putting you on the spot like that, brother. Your goatee would remember. Try communicating with it. Now, for the record about the aliens in Vegas, Rob G and I, we've discussed this. He's tried showing me where those aliens are. I don't see them on the video. I don't. Look into Quirk Zone. Where would I look into Quirk Zone, T-Bone Bum Man? Philip Blair, good morning to you. I know in the forklift, I just don't see it. And it doesn't look alien to me. It doesn't. I'm sorry. I want it to. You know what else can look like alien eyes? Safety vests. You're wondering how? When the arms are cut out and if there's a wind, and they're over top of the back of a leather back tractor chair, it's going to look like alien eyes. Just saying. I could be wrong, guys. I'm not saying I'm right. Okay, I'm just going by what my gut feeling tells me. Tractor of aliens pulling the strings. I know, sweets. I know. I'm hoping to believe this one. I'm just trying to shove my microphone up my nose. Don't ask me why. Just am. I'm pulling a Deboruni right now. It's my Deboruni pose. Anyways. Tractor. Whoopoo, Lex Diaz, how you both doing? Can't believe nobody's jumping on the Tractor of Aliens comment. Instead of Master of Puppets. And I agree with Sweet Robbie G on that comment. All I ask for is not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's do our due diligence with every case. Bingo, Sweets. My opinion means nothing. And I'm not saying that it'd be self-deprecating or sarcastic. Just because I don't believe it doesn't mean it isn't true. All right, guys. That time of the night, we're going to shut things down. Tomorrow night on the show, Jessie Hawthorne is going to join us about her strange life. It'll be fun. Nicole Sackett will have the UFO report. We go from there. Thank you to our super chatters. T-Bone with a hat trick. Deborah Rooney. W. Decker with a hat trick. Aloha Dave. Dialogue. Cosmic Joe. Thank you for the love, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night, everyone. I look forward to it. Have a good night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.